Welcome to your quiet space. This is a place where your mind slows down and the noise of the world fades away. Here, stories flow like gentle rivers through time, from ancient empires to forgotten legends, guiding you toward deep, peaceful rest. Each night, I'll tell you tales of history, wonder, and calm discovery. So close your eyes, take a slow breath, and drift with me through the story. This is Somnus, where every story is a step closer to sleep. Let's begin. Archimedes of Syracuse stands among the greatest minds of ancient history, a symbol of human curiosity and intellectual brilliance that continues to inspire generations. Born in the Greek city of Syracuse around 287 BCE, Archimedes lived during a time marked by vibrant cultural achievements alongside political struggles. Syracuse, situated on the island of Sicily, was then an influential city-state, known for its strong navy and rich intellectual life. This combination of military vigor and scholarly activity created an environment that was right for a thinker like Archimedes to emerge. The exact details of Archimedes' early life are limited and often mixed with legend, but what is known paints a picture of a gifted individual with an insatiable thirst for knowledge. His father was likely an astronomer or mathematician named Phidias, which suggests that Archimedes may have grown up in a family environment that valued education and scholarly pursuits. This background perhaps played a role in cultivating the rigorous and inquisitive mind that Archimedes developed. From a young age, Archimedes displayed a deep fascination with understanding the natural world. He was not content with merely accepting facts handed down from teachers or philosophers. Instead, he sought to explore the reasons behind the phenomena he observed. Like many boys of his time, he could have been introduced to the basics of Greek education: arithmetic, music, geometry, and logic. But his approach was anything but ordinary. He combined study with experimentation, pushing the boundaries of knowledge in ways that set him apart from his contemporaries. One of the most important turning points in Archimedes' early years was his likely journey to Alexandria, the renowned center of learning in Egypt. While no definitive record confirms the length or details of his visit, scholars widely agree that Archimedes spent a significant time in Alexandria, studying under some of the greatest mathematicians and scientists of the era. The city's famous library, the largest in the ancient world, offered access to an enormous body of knowledge from diverse cultures. Archimedes absorbed techniques and ideas that expanded his understanding beyond what was available in Syracuse. Alexandria's intellectual environment was unique. Here, Greek, Egyptian, Babylonian, and other cultural traditions of science and mathematics blended together. Archimedes took full advantage of this melting pot of knowledge. He explored mathematics deeply, especially geometry, but he also developed a profound interest in mechanics and physical phenomena. Unlike many scholars who preferred abstract theory, Archimedes sought to connect theory with practice, attempting to apply mathematical principles to solve real-world problems. The young Archimedes was particularly fascinated by shapes and their properties. Questions such as how to measure areas and volumes of irregular objects consumed his attention. He pondered various geometric curves such as spirals and parabolas, and explored their mathematical properties extensively. These investigations marked some of the earliest attempts to understand curves and spaces in the way modern geometry and calculus would later formalize. His curiosity extended to the physical world around him. Archimedes began to study concepts related to forces and motion long before the systematic study of physics existed. His understanding of levers, pulleys, and buoyancy would lead to discoveries that laid critical groundwork for mechanics centuries before Newton. But during his youth, These ideas were still in their infancy, and Archimedes himself was developing these concepts through observation, thought experiments, and trial and error. The spirit of experimentation was key to Archimedes' genius. He was among the first thinkers to combine careful observation with rigorous mathematics. He did not just pose questions, he sought answers that could be demonstrated logically and tested physically. This holistic approach was revolutionary for the time and is one reason why Archimedes' contributions have endured for over 2 millennia. In addition to his studies, Archimedes was known to have an inventive streak. According to historical accounts, he enjoyed designing simple machines and devices from a young age. From cranes that could lift heavy weights to early forms of catapults used for defense, his mechanical inventions demonstrated a practical application of abstract principles. These inventions were designed to improve efficiency and reduce human labor, showcasing his vision of combining science and utility.
Though Syracuse was often threatened by external forces during Archimedes' lifetime, these challenges did not deter his work. On the contrary, the necessity of defending his city fueled some of his most creative mechanical designs, particularly those for military applications, such as defensive catapults. Archimedes' intellect was not confined to ivory towers. It addressed urgent, real-world problems with innovative solutions. Archimedes' early life was thus characterized by a tireless quest for knowledge combined with practical application. He never separated theory from experiment and viewed the natural world as a puzzle waiting to be solved by logical reasoning and skillful invention. Even the stories about his personal habits often emphasize his intense focus. For example, it was said that he could be so absorbed in his work that he neglected common needs, a reflection of the depth of his dedication. His education and experiences during youth prepared him to challenge existing knowledge and push forward the boundaries of science. Influenced by the work of predecessors like Euclid, whose Elements was a fundamental textbook in geometry, Archimedes sought not only to understand mathematics better, but also to expand it. He pioneered new methods and ideas that would later be recognized as foundations of calculus and mathematical physics. As we begin to explore Archimedes' life and work through this long narrative, it is important to remember that behind the great discoveries was a boy born into a world filled with both opportunity and turmoil. The growing city of Syracuse, the rich intellectual currents of Alexandria, and the challenges of everyday life all left their mark on a mind destined to change history. This first chapter of Archimedes' story invites us into the beginning of a remarkable journey, a journey driven by curiosity, courage, and creativity. From his early years through education and experimentation, Archimedes showed us how a relentless desire to understand nature can produce discoveries that resonate through time. By the end of this introduction, we gain a sense of Archimedes as both a product of his environment and a revolutionary thinker whose ideas transcended his era. His life offers lessons on the power of education and imagination, setting the tone for the remarkable achievements that will follow in the upcoming sections.
Archimedes is often remembered first and foremost for his extraordinary contributions to mathematics. His work laid the foundations for many fields that form the basis of modern science, and his methods and discoveries continue to astonish even today for their depth and ingenuity. One of Archimedes' most important mathematical achievements was his extraordinary mastery of geometry. Unlike earlier mathematicians who worked primarily with simple shapes and lines, Archimedes pushed the limits of what could be understood about curves, areas, and volumes. His approach combined rigorous logical proofs with innovative strategies to calculate areas and volumes of irregular shapes. Central to his work was what we now call the method of exhaustion. This technique allowed Archimedes to find the area of a shape
by inscribing within it a sequence of polygons whose areas increasingly approached that of the shape itself. By refining these polygons with more and more sides, he could make increasingly close approximations to the area or volume he wished to discover. This method, in many ways, anticipated integral calculus, which would only be formally developed nearly 1,800 years later by Newton and Leibniz. Through the method of exhaustion, Archimedes was able to calculate areas under curves, the surface areas of spheres and cones, and volumes of solids such as spheres and cylinders with remarkable precision. For instance, he proved that the volume of a sphere is 2/3 that of the smallest cylinder capable of containing it, a relationship that astounded later mathematicians. Archimedes himself considered this discovery one of his greatest achievements, and he had a cylinder and sphere inscribed on his tombstone to commemorate it. Archimedes also made significant advances in understanding the properties of circles, particularly in approximating the value of what we call pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Before Archimedes, pi was known only roughly, but Archimedes devised a method to approximate its value with incredible accuracy by inscribing and circumscribing polygons around a circle. Starting with polygons of 6 sides, he successively doubled the number of sides up to 96, calculating the perimeters of these shapes to narrow the upper and lower bounds of pi. His estimate placed pi between 3 and 1/7, approximately 3.1429, and 3 and 1071, about 3.1408, which is extraordinarily close to the true value, an astonishing feat given the tools available in his time. Beyond circles and volumes, Archimedes also studied spirals, curves that are more complex than circles but exhibit fascinating properties. The curve known today as the Archimedean spiral, named after him, is generated by moving a point at a constant speed along a line that rotates at a constant angular velocity. This curve found applications in the design of mechanical devices and continues to be studied in modern mathematics and physics. Anyways, another key area where Archimedes truly revolutionized mathematical thinking was in the concept of infinitesimals, quantities that are infinitely small. Although he did not formalize these into a system as calculus does, his methods involved breaking problems down into infinitely many small parts, summing their effects to reach a solution. This method allowed him to solve problems that had previously seemed impossible, and brought rigor to ideas that would only be fully developed much later. Archimedes' genius also shone through in number theory and the exploration of mathematical constants. He investigated properties of numbers, especially prime numbers, and techniques for summing series. Though not known as a pioneer in algebra in the way later mathematicians would be, Archimedes' manipulation of geometric series demonstrates an early understanding of mathematical sequences that underpin both algebra and calculus. His work was not confined to geometry and arithmetic, but extended into what we would now call mechanics and physics, where mathematics becomes the language for describing motion, forces, and equilibrium. One of his critical insights was formulating the law of the lever. This principle states that a lever amplifies force depending on the distances from the fulcrum, summarized simply by the idea that the forces on either side are inversely proportional to their distances from the center of rotation. The famous quote attributed to Archimedes, "Give me a place to stand and I will move the earth," reflects this understanding of mechanical advantage, a concept that reveals the power of simple machines. Archimedes' mathematical methods and discoveries demonstrated an extraordinary fusion of abstract reasoning and practical applications. Unlike many scholars who focused solely on theory, he consistently applied his mathematical insights to design machines and solve real-world problems. This blend of theory and practice is what makes Archimedes unique. His mathematics were not only elegant, but immensely useful. Another remarkable aspect of Archimedes' work is his emphasis on proof and logical clarity. His writings, though surviving only in fragments and references, reveal a methodical style of argumentation, presenting propositions with rigorous proofs that built upon previous knowledge. This approach influenced the development of the axiomatic method, which became fundamental in modern mathematics. Unlike some early Greek mathematicians whose works were more philosophical or speculative, Archimedes sought to establish truths with undeniable logic. He paved the way for future mathematicians to rely on proof as the backbone of mathematical knowledge. His works contain detailed, step-by-step demonstrations, similar in spirit to how Euclid's Elements was structured. Throughout his life, Archimedes composed several treatises on various mathematical topics. Some of his most famous works include On the Sphere and Cylinder, where he explores volumes and surface areas, Measurement of a Circle, where he estimates pi, and The Method of Mechanical Theorems, which reveals his use of infinitesimals and balancing ideas to discover areas and volumes. While many of his treatises were lost during the ages, a few survived, thanks to the preservation efforts in the Byzantine and Islamic worlds, eventually reaching Renaissance scholars. The rediscovery of Archimedes' works in the 15th and 16th centuries sparked a revival in scientific thought, influencing mathematicians such as Galileo, Kepler, and Newton. They recognized Archimedes' methods as precursors to the new calculus and classical mechanics they were developing. His texts offered tools and insights that contributed to the leap forward in understanding that defined the scientific revolution. An interesting note is that Archimedes did not only work with idealized shapes, but also ventured into practical problems involving machines and physical objects, applying his mathematics to areas such as buoyancy and the design of war machines. This reflects his belief that mathematics had both intellectual and practical value. One of the best examples of Archimedes' unique approach is the way he combined geometry and mechanics to solve problems about centers of gravity. Through careful geometric reasoning, he was able to locate the center of mass of various shapes and solids, a fundamental concept in physics that supports balance and stability. At the time, this was groundbreaking because it connected abstract mathematical shapes with physical properties. In summary, Archimedes was a towering figure in ancient mathematics, whose contributions formed the foundation for many branches of mathematics and science. His great achievements included devising methods for calculating areas, volumes, and approximating pi with remarkable precision. His work on spirals, infinitesimals, and number theory demonstrated an innovative mind constantly seeking deeper understanding. Most importantly, Archimedes combined theoretical brilliance with practical application, proving that mathematics is not just a set of abstract rules, but a powerful tool for solving real-world problems. His dedication to logical proof and methodical reasoning shaped the way mathematics would be practiced for millennia, inspiring countless scholars and inventors to come. As we reflect on Archimedes' mathematical legacy, we see a man who bridged theory and experiment, intuition and rigor, imagination and logic. His work invites us to appreciate the beauty of mathematics as much as its power, reminding us that behind every number and shape lies a story of discovery waiting to be told.
Archimedes stands as a towering figure, not only for his theorems, but also for the way he approached problems with playfulness, tenacity, and a storyteller's flair for clarity. His mathematics is filled with construction, curiosity, and a sense of wonder about numbers, shapes, and the world's hidden order. In this section, we move beyond the famous stories of Eureka and the wooden ships. We dive into the heart of Archimedes' mathematical mind, the methods, the proofs, the surprising connections, and the practical problems that compelled him to translate abstract ideas into tangible results. Begin with the method of exhaustion, a concept that might feel distant at first glance, yet it sits at the core of Archimedes' genius. The method is an ancient precursor to integral calculus, a bridge between geometry and analysis that would only become formal much later in history. Archimedes faced the challenge of determining areas and volumes of curved figures, shapes that resisted straightforward measurement. His solution was to approximate by constructing polygons inscribed within or circumscribed around the figure. Each polygon has more sides than the last, each side a little closer to the curve, and each step reduces the gap between the two bounds. Picture it as a careful, patient conversation between the shape and the measurement. A circle becomes a polygon with many sides. Its area is flanked by two bounds, a left-hand limit and a right-hand limit. By increasing the number of sides, Archimedes shrinks the gap between his estimates and the truth. He didn't rely on decimals the way we do today, but his reasoning was precise enough to pin down what he sought. The method of exhaustion is not merely a clever trick, it is a disciplined way of thinking about limits, a concept that would mature into the calculus of later centuries. In teaching, that lineage matters. It shows students and listeners how a simple idea, a polygon with many sides, can unlock the mystery of a circle's area and the volume of a sphere. Now, let us travel to one of Archimedes' most celebrated numerical achievements, his approximation of pi, the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter. Before Archimedes, pi existed as a rough intuition, perhaps a figure scribbled in the margins of a notebook. Archimedes did something extraordinary. He framed pi in a rigorous bounding problem. He inscribed a regular polygon inside a circle and circumscribed another polygon outside the same circle. With each doubling of the number of sides, from 6 to 12 to 24 and beyond, he tightened the bounds. He showed that pi lies between 3 and 1/7, 3.142857, and 3 and 10/71, 3.140845. To the modern eye, this result seems modest, but it was a leap forward for its time. The level of precision, 2 decimal places of accuracy beyond common estimates, was a demonstration of how geometric reasoning can yield far more than intuition alone. The circle, the sphere, and the cylinder form a triad in Archimedes' geometry. He explored the relationships among these shapes with a rigor that would echo through the centuries. The result that the volume and surface area of a sphere relate to the circumscribed cylinder in a precise ratio, 2/3 for volume and 2/3 for surface area, became one of his most famous statements. He reportedly had the cylinder and sphere inscribed on his tomb, a quiet, almost ceremonial reminder of a truth he deemed a crown jewel of his life's work. The idea that a sphere, so seemingly simple, holds a proportion away from the cylinder that just encloses it, is elegant in its symmetry. It captures a spirit that pervades Archimedes, that simple shapes, when probed with disciplined logic, reveal deep, universal truths. Another pillar of Archimedes' mathematics concerns spirals. The Archimedean spiral is formed by a point moving away from the origin with a constant speed, while the radius grows linearly with the angle. This curve is not only aesthetically pleasing, it has meaningful applications in physics and engineering. It appears in processes of growing mechanical gears, in the paths of particles constrained by rotating systems, and in signal processing contexts where linear growth in angle and radius must be reconciled. Archimedes didn't just name the spiral, he studied its properties with the same insistence that guided his explorations of circles and spheres. The spiral embodies a bridge between linear and angular measures, a bridge Archimedes crossed with his own characteristic blend of geometry and physics. A striking, perhaps almost mythic aspect of Archimedes' mathematical work is his engagement with infinitesimals, long before the concept had a formal place in mathematics. He didn't use the term, and he did not develop a complete formal system like Newton or Leibniz, but his method of mechanical theorems reveals a striking intuition. By considering the figure as composed of infinitely small elements, the scientist could infer properties of the whole.
Archimedes demonstrated, with clever reasoning, that the equalization of moments and the balance of parts could determine areas and volumes. In a sense, he was leaning on a proto-calculus, using physical intuition to guide mathematical conclusions. That is a remarkable insight. A mind able to translate a physical process into a mathematical statement with steps that resemble the logic of integration. Let us also consider Archimedes' work in the realm of number theory and mathematical sequences. While not primarily remembered as an algebraist, Archimedes treated numbers and figures with an eye for their structural properties. He explored properties of primes and developed methods for summing geometric series and comparing series of areas. This exploration reveals a mathematician who was not content to merely derive formulas. He sought to understand the behavior of collections of numbers, the way a sequence converges, and how patterns emerge from repetition. These habits, pattern recognition, rigorous comparison, and a taste for generalization, will echo later in the work of mathematicians who formalized later theories in algebra and analysis. Beyond the abstract beauty of proofs, Archimedes' mathematics found a home in application. The geometry of areas and volumes is not an isolated pursuit. It supports the design of machines and structures. For instance, his results about the volumes of spheres and cylinders are not merely curiosities. They supply the quantitative backbone for engineering tasks in water management and construction. In the same spirit, Archimedes' method of exhaustion gives us a general approach to approximating quantities that cannot be measured exactly, a strategy that resonates with numerical methods used in modern-day computations. A central thread in Archimedes' mathematical identity is the unity he drew between theory and practice. He did not keep mathematics in a separate ivory tower. Instead, he embedded geometry in the design of devices that could measure, move, and manage physical systems. The Archimedean screw, for instance, is a geometric device, the spiral blade inside a cylinder, whose purpose is to move water. The machine embodies the idea that a mathematical principle, when embodied in a tangible device, can alter what humans can achieve. The same mathematical spirit informs his balancing arguments about levers and centers of gravity, where geometry supplies the language to describe forces and moments. To hear Archimedes speak through his works, imagine stepping into an era where a few lines of reasoning could open doors to an entire landscape of discovery. He wrote not as a solitary genius enthroned in abstraction, but as a craftsman who kneaded geometry into physical reality. His treatises, such as On the Sphere and Cylinder, Measurement of a Circle, and The Method of Mechanical Theorems, reflect a mind that learned by constructing, testing, and proving, in a style that ranged from elegant propositions to methodical demonstrations. The surviving fragments and later summaries from medieval and Renaissance scholars reached us as echoes of a more expansive conversation that once filled the rooms and harbours of antiquity. You might wonder how such ancient mathematics can feel alive today. The answer lies in the universality of the problems Archimedes tackled. How to measure something we cannot measure directly. How to balance a system so that it remains stable. How to understand a curve that looks deceptively simple but hides a more complex truth. These questions persist in modern science and engineering, reminding us that the arc of history can be traced through the continued relevance of a single mind's questions. And perhaps this is the main legacy of Archimedes. He showed that mathematics is not a cold science of formulas, but a living art of seeing order in chaos. He was not afraid to ask simple questions and spend years trying to understand exactly how the world works. When we look at modern technologies, satellites, calculations, even an ordinary wheel or a screw, in each of them we can see the shadow of his ideas. Archimedes didn't just calculate, he taught us how to think. If you enjoyed this journey into the mind of an ancient genius, support the video, subscribe, and there will be even more stories ahead about people who changed science and our perception of the world. Thank you for listening till the end. Cherish your curiosity, it is what moves humanity forward.